Contemporary Cumbrian Folk Songs and How to Write Them is an inspiring collection of songs written by Steve Wharton. The book features melody notation, transcribed by Ali McGurk, with guitar tab, chords, lyrics, and comprehensive background notes for the 16 songs, 13 of which are originals and 3 are settings of 19th century Cumbrian poems by William Wordsworth, Robert Anderson and John James Lonsdale. I'm pleased to say Steve Wharton joins me this evening to talk about his new book. Slightly later than normal planned this evening, Steve, but, football took over tonight, so...
That's all right, it was a good score, we'll let them off.
Yeah, a good score for Carlisle tonight, which is quite nice. You had a busy day yesterday, didn't you, celebrating Cumbria Day, although it seemed to pass quietly, unfortunately, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I think there's a bit of uncertainty, what with the, the change in boundaries, kind of like Cumbria County Council and then the different regional authorities becoming now just Cumberland and Westmoreland and Furness. But it was a good day. I started the day off in Frizzington School. They've started doing their Cumbria Award. So they've asked me to help them learn about, started with Wordsworth, and then we're going to go on to Robert Anderson and Susanna Bleymaier, and then some of the border ballads. And we're going to be looking at the dialect that we use up here and where it comes from and how it's inspired, different ways of thinking.
And how important is it, do you think, as you say, you're in a school there, Frizzington School, how important is it for the youngsters to have, their heritage recognised and to learn about these things in school?
Well, I think, this isn't just in Cumbria, but I think in schools, especially the early years, and I trained as an early years teacher, and you deliver phonics and, you deliver how sounds and words are supposed to sound. But when you get regional variations, it doesn't make any sense. And so then you're kind of at odds because, certainly around West Cumbria, T and a H doesn't equal it equals duh. Like, what's wrong with dad, eh?
Know what I mean, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that's addressed in Scotland because they use analytic phonics, whereas we use synthetic phonics, and it's all geared towards standard English. And how many people actually speak standard English?
Yes, good question. That's interesting, isn't it? But you're doing a splendid job there in the schools. Let's talk about the book. What inspired you to write the book, and tell me a little bit about it?
Well, I suppose it was not just COVID and lockdown, but also before that, Brexit uncertainty. And I had a lot of international tourists that I would normally perform to seem to be wary of travelling because they weren't sure if we'd have control of our airspace and stuff like that. So anyway, I felt a chapter of like 5 to 7 years of creating and performing this Cumbrian material, kind of like just closing. And that was good because it gave me a chance to just reflect and consolidate what I'd done in terms of storytelling and songs and poetry. And I thought, okay, well, this is going to have another life, like on the page. And so I kind of started a process of going through different media. I started with podcasts and doing the 28 Days Later podcast and writing more, scripts. And then I thought, okay, the time's right now to take one of my stories, one of my kids' stories, and turn that into a book. So I did that last May, and that was called Silwedeth, and it's about a local Stone Age girl that she starts questioning her tribe's beliefs, and then as the process goes on, she becomes essentially a scientist. She's observing things around her, and then she invents the first stone circle. And after that, I thought, okay, yeah, the time's right now to put some of my songs in print. And so it's part of an ongoing process. The songs are in print now, like the Cumbrian ones, and I'll probably try and follow this up with a book of stories.
Are you hoping to inspire a whole new set of songwriters?
Yeah, although I wouldn't say a new set. There's lots of songwriters out there right now that are writing fantastic songs about the area. I mean, you got Mike Turnbull up in Kendal, you got Mike Willoughby in Ulverston, Dave Camlin over in Lamplugh on the west coast. There's loads of really fantastic contemporary songwriters, writing modern folk songs. And I suppose because I've got a media background, it was easier for me to translate some of the things I do live onto the page. But already, Mike Turnbull said he's got to have a little look at putting some of his own in print now. And that's brilliant. And even though we've got songs that are about the same thing, we've approached them in different ways. And I hope that more of us get our ideas down, on paper and recorded, and just get them out more.
Let's hear your first song, your first track, Heartwood. Tell me about this.
So this is a song that I wrote the lyrics in 2010, and I was running up alongside the M6, which is actually lovely, alongside T-Bay. And then I went round the corner and I saw a stone with an inscription. And it was for 4 men that had died whilst working on the railways. But what shocked me was that they died in the 21st century. And I just thought that's kind of wrong to go to work and not come back in this day and age. It felt more Victorian. So I looked into what had happened, and then I wrote a song inspired by the location, because it was just underneath the heart-shaped wood, just by the M6. And also, they were killed on the 15th of February, the early hours of the morning, which meant they started work on the 14th of February. And so I did my research, and I just wanted to kind of keep the memory of this event alive. And that's what I think contemporary folk music should do. It should comment on, recent things.
Well, let's have a listen to it. This is Steve Wharton and Heartwood.
They kissed their girls on Valentine's morning, then they began their shifts, fixing the rails on the West Coast main line before disaster hit. Cloud hung low in the T-Bay Gorge, a crane lifted rails from a condemned truck. Its hydraulic brakes were disconnected. Instead, the wheels were chocked with wood. This all happened underneath Heartwood. Added to the aching of the heart-shaped wood. With a jolt from the crane, the truck broke free, stole down the smooth, hard track, running on scene and gathering speed, 40 miles an hour in the cold and dark. Buckley, Burgess, Waters and Tyndall, may those names be blessed. 16 tons of cold hard steel, 4 miles later came to rest. This all happened underneath Heartwood. Added to the aching of the heart-shaped wood. This is no tale of Victorian navvies in the days before employment law. They died as you and I were sleeping, February 15th, 2004, beside the River Loon and the North. How Gills a rock now bears their names. They kissed their girls house on Valentine's morning, never went home again. This all happened underneath Heartwood. Added to the aching of the heart-shaped wood. This all happened underneath Heartwood. Added to the aching of the heart-shaped wood.
First song from my guests this evening, Steve Wharton and Heartwood, which of course is a true story. Steve, how long did it take you to write that? I mean, did the lyrics come first or the music? What comes first?
On that occasion, the lyrics came first, and I liked the lyrics, and I swapped it around a bit. You know, I made like what was originally a verse into the chorus and monkeyed around with it. But then I was never quite happy with the rhythm that it had, and it wasn't until a little bit later, 5 years later, I heard Bill Lloyd, a friend of mine, he put a song out, a music video for a song, and there was a fantastic line in it. It's, I'm going to ride that northern rail. I thought, that's it, that ride. It's that long declamatory kind of statement that I needed in Heartwood. So I revisited it, and that was it. It was just that simple little thing that brought the song to life. And those are the kind of things that I've written about in the songbook. You know, those intangible elements that really make a song unique and, you know, give it life.
Tell me a little bit more about you, because you're a native Cumbrian, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I straddled the border between Cumbria and Lancashire because I was born in Barrow and brought up in Ulverston. Divided loyalties and all that. But I went up to Carlisle, I went up to Art College, and then lived all around the lakes. And then I moved abroad. And when I was living in Finland and China and the Czech Republic, I visited a lot of like heritage and UNESCO sites. And I saw a lot of folk performance. I could see the pride with which they were doing it. I thought, we don't have that. But why don't we have it? You know, we've got the Morris men and we've got like pace eggers, but we've got a lot more as well. And we don't celebrate it as much. So when I came back, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just try and write some songs that will be, and stories as well, that can be done in all kinds of locations. And something I've really tried to do is do songs which go down well in pubs and different settings.
You were compere for the Lancaster Maritime Festival. I mean, in its heyday, that was an amazing event in the city of Lancaster, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. And it was such a brilliant learning curve for me as well. I mean, I started off just helping to shift the barriers around, and then slowly, because the main organizer, David Wright, he knew that I sang a little bit. He kind of like nudged me on, so I was introducing them, and then eventually I was singing as well, like in a little concert, and introducing some of the other kind of like artists, and meeting people like Louis Killen and Bob Fox, Tim Laycock, the Harry Brown Shantymen, Stormalong John. It was just a masterclass in folk music, and also that interaction with the audience. And I mean, what we heard just before was the album version of Heartwood, and the live version is very different, because I think that the two media are completely different. And so I always put a lot of emphasis on the introductions to songs, like in the live setting, because that's when you can give the audience the key to unlock the relevance of that song for themselves.
And I think you spent a bit of time abroad with a mutual friend of ours, Homes of Football, Stuart Clark, who I think is tuned in tonight and said, give us a mention.
Yeah, Clarky's. I've been doing stuff with Clarky on and off for about 20 years now. when I did my final college project with a band called Striding Edge, and Stuart was involved with that. And then we were out at the World Cup in Germany in 2006 together. I did some filming there, which I'm hoping we're going to be able to whip up into a documentary ready for just before Euro 2024, which is back in Germany, which, as I see it, is the next real football party, because, you know, Qatar went okay.
Yeah.
Russia was just a write-off. You know, there's, you know, in terms of the men's football, the next tournament where it's going to be a real party, I think, is Germany.
Right.
And that's a great time to celebrate, but also a time to reflect on what's happened between 2006 in Germany and, you know, 2024. Yeah. We've had so much happen in the world since then.
I just want to interrupt you there, because I want to get your second track in, that we'll talk a little bit more after the news. You can tell us about this as we come out of the news, but this is the look of Edenhall.
As I was fetching the water at Edenhall, fairies I saw by the well, they were dancing, happy and light. So much noise made by one so small gave me a gift for my blind eye turning. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. Into the hall where my master was waiting, this fragile goblet brought joy to his eyes. His forehead creased as I relayed its blessing, one that the family dare not advertise. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. Wrapped in silk and leather, never to leave the hall, the Musgraves enjoyed good fortune thereafter. Lord Wharton from Kirby Stephen rode up one night, even I knew this could lead to disaster. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. Fetch me this trinket and fill it with burgundy. Fill it again, get some use from the cup. Now get behind me and stretch out the tablecloth. He flung it up high, shouting, let's test the luck. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Eden. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall. If this glass should break or fall, and gone is the luck of Edenhall.
On the BBC Sounds app.
Lovely to have your company wherever you're tuned in, Cumbria, Lancashire, or further afield. Just to quickly catch up with my guest Steve Wharton. We're talking about his brand new project, which of course is the songbook he's just published. With that, he's doing a bit of a tour, one or two gigs to tell us about. Before we do that, the look of Edenhall, the song we went up to the news with. Steve, just tell us a little bit behind that story.
Yeah, well, it's around Cumbria. We've got quite a few legends about the looks. These are often, you know, pieces of glassware or, you know, some kind of treasure that stately homes have got, with the legend that if it breaks, then, you know, bad luck will befall the house. And so Edenhall is up by Langwathby, you know, just east of Penrith. But the actual look of Edenhall survived, although Edenhall, the stately home, didn't. And it's in the V&A Museum in London. And they did some tests on it, and it comes from Syria, from about 1350. So it's one of many artefacts that would have been brought back by Crusader Knights.
Well, what an interesting story. Gigs, as I say, you're a busy man at the moment. Friday, the 3rd of February, you're actually in Carlisle, Cakes and Ale.
Yes, a lovely cafe just behind the Bookends bookshop.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're with Sue Allen on that day, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, well, we're double billing that day because I'm going to do a little bit of an intro to my songbook, and then Sue is going to be talking about the book that she did about Robert Anderson, because the 1st of February is the anniversary of the birth of Robert Anderson, who was known as the Cumberland Bard. And although he was born in the same year as William Wordsworth, he was actually popular in his own area in his own time. And he's a great character. He was actually like a calico pattern designer by trade, but he did such amazing songs in dialect, and people really liked him. So there's the plaque for him in Carlisle Cathedral. So Sue's going to talk about her book and do some of his songs. I'll do a few of his songs as well. We'll make a double bill of the evening.
Before that, I should mention, actually, this Saturday, you're performing live at HMV Carlisle on Saturday.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Do you like doing these? Do you like doing these in-store gigs?
I love doing it everywhere because, and this is what I was saying about performing live just before. Everywhere you go, you can just make those songs a little bit more special for the people that are there, and you can change your delivery. You can, just adapt the songs. And I think that's one of the keys to good songwriting as well, is that the song should be adaptable for solo performance or for a band or for a recording and in different venues.
Finally, you're in Lancashire, Lancaster at the Methodist Church in Scotforth on the 11th of February. This is a bit of a double bill, I think, isn't it, Steve, this one?
Yeah, so I'll be doing my contemporary Cumbrian songs, and then Oliver Cross and Ellen Cervanti will be doing traditional Lancashire songs. And then we're going to come together at the end because Eleanor, I know from... she used to come to my storytelling nights at the Moorforge Viking settlement up near Cockermouth. And she's got a cracking voice. And she's from Bowness-on-Solway, which is way up in the far north of Cumbria, like out to the west of Carlisle. And one of my songs is about the half-netters, who are these, fishermen that go out and practice this form of fishing that goes way back to the Viking Age. So I thought, it's natural that, Eleanor and I should finish off the night by doing this song about the half netting, the kind of thing that she's seen growing up. Now she's down in Lancaster studying and working. And hopefully it'll just round off the night really nicely. So I'm really looking forward to that. And apparently the acoustics in the Methodist Church are really good, great atmosphere. Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Well, Steve, lovely to chat to you this evening. Best of luck with that and all the future gigs as well from us all on BBC Radio Cumbria and BBC Radio Lancashire. What a great guest tonight. Steve Wharton.